hires in countries that have a higher share of GDP investing in pre-primary education and other family-friendly policies. The ILO also estimates that doubling the current public and private investment in care services to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals will create over 206 million new jobs by the year 2030. So investing in the care economy is the right and the smart thing to do, as also called by the ILO Centenary Declaration for the Future of Work. In addition, access to good quality, affordable childcare has become increasingly relevant for employers because research is demonstrating a positive business impact when employer offers childcare. The ILO report, The Business Case for Change, shows that there are longer-term and strategic benefits to the bottom line connected with extending maternity and paternity leave or helping with childcare. And today we'll hear more about the benefits for companies, children, and workers. In particular, indeed, as a parent of two myself, maternity protection, childcare, emergency leave, and support for breastfeeding have made an extraordinary difference to my professional and personal life and that of my family. So we hope that this webinar can inspire more action to support more and more working parents everywhere to support with childcare. However, despite these benefits, a large number of companies, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, still struggle to implement solutions, establish metrics, collect data, and access reliable information. So today we're going to learn more on how to tackle these challenges at the workplace through employer-supported childcare. Based on what you share with us in the pre-course survey, and for that we thank you very much for taking the time to share your learning interests, we will hear more about workplace solutions that are available that could respond to the specific childcare needs of your company. We'll hear about illustrative experiences and practical tools that our experts will present today. So as the agenda shows, this training webinar will last 1 hour and a half. It will consist of an expert-led training panel, followed by an interactive peer learning session. We're going to start by learning about the newly IFC guide, Tackling Childcare, a guide for employer-supported childcare. The guide was co-authored and co-created with more than 30 organizations under the lead of Rudaba Sehera Nazir, who is here with us today. Then we will move to Cheryl Shushan and the experience of employer-supported childcare of Patagonia, and then Sonia Malaspina for the case of family-friendly policies in Danone. We will have then a Q&A on the presentation, and we invite you to send us your questions that we will submit to our experts. And you can look in the question pane and type your question. Then we will move to the peer learning session between the audience and the experts. It will last 30 minutes, and we will have a more interactive opportunity to go in depth in the guidance, the case studies, and the challenges that you're facing. And we can also run through the IFC tools and the resources that are available in the guide to help you design and implement the most fit for purpose childcare solution. So during this session, you will have the opportunity to take the floor by raising your hands and activating your microphone and sharing directly your experiences and questions. So we are very excited about this peer learning space, and we hope you will stay with us until the end of the webinar. So let's get started by learning more on the IFC guide from Rubada Sehera Nazir, Global Lead for Employment and Childcare at the International Financial Corporation of the World Bank Group. Rudaba, you have the floor.
Thank you, Laura and Anna and Miral. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward today to talking to our audience here in the training about the importance of employer-supported childcare and family solutions, and actually what can employers do to support the childcare and family needs of their employees. As you know, in this regard, as Laura mentioned, we've just launched a global guide for employer-supported childcare, which I look forward to sharing more about with you today. So the next slide. Great. So I will be talking about three main aspects today. I will provide a brief background and context of the guide, also share with you an overview of the different guidance tools and steps that are included in the guide, and then finish off with a few couple of company examples to really show how it's done in practice. This guide for employer-supported childcare is actually embedded, next slide please, in IFC's Global Tackling Childcare Advisory Program, which I lead. Since the last few years, we've actually been doing a lot of research to really understand what is the business case and what are some of the good practices for employer-supported childcare. And we've replicated this research in a number of different countries, including in Sri Lanka, in Fiji, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar. We've been helping companies measure the business case for employer-supported childcare. We've been helping companies that are just starting their journey and not sure about where to begin, to help them conduct assessments, demand assessments, develop action plans, and implement those action plans. We've also been working at the market level to really understand what are the care demand and supply side barriers in nascent care markets like India, in Bangladesh, and using those to mobilize public and private sector support for childcare. We've also been working with the World Bank to collect data to really understand childcare policies across countries, and we've recently produced a policy note covering 189 economies, from which we know, and I'll share this more information with you, that 26 out of 189 countries around the world require employers to provide or support childcare. So if you are an employer in one of these 26 countries, there's a legal obligation for you to do so. And it can be quite daunting, but hopefully after this training, you'll feel a little bit more at ease. And the last thing we're doing is peer learning. Exactly what we're doing today, bringing companies together and helping them share knowledge, share their challenges, and come up with solutions on how they can move forward. So next slide. So through all of this work that I just mentioned at the firm level, at the market level, at the policy level, peer learning, we know for sure that investing in childcare benefits women, men, children, families, businesses, and society. And some of these benefits are listed for you here, and you can also find more information on our website, ifc.org/tacklingchildcare. And I want to zoom in on the benefits for employers. Our research since 2017 shows that employers who support the care and family needs of their employees can strengthen recruitment, they can increase diversity and talent, they can improve their corporate reputation, they can improve staff retention, lower absenteeism and turnover, they can also enhance productivity, employee satisfaction, loyalty, and meet legal requirements, both national as well as international. So there are a lot of benefits also for society, parents and children, particularly for women's employment, which you all probably already very nicely know. So I won't spend too much time, but let me move quickly now into the guide to show you how you can actually put this business and development case into practice. So next slide. Yes. We know that despite the business case, there's a vast gap in childcare demand and supply. Globally, demand is high and continues to rise, both from parents and companies. But we also know that the supply of good quality, affordable childcare is very limited. Actually, working parents do not always have options aligned to their needs, values, income, and work hours. At the same time, we also know that the benefits of childcare outweigh the costs. And here I also list a study that was conducted by EBRD in collaboration with ICRW. that also highlights the business and development case for childcare. We know that good childcare services can enable women to access better jobs, better paid jobs, and help employers attract and retain top talent. As I mentioned, 26 governments have policies mandating companies to provide childcare, and you can access the policy note to learn more about what are some of the other childcare related policies and trends that have been emerging. And we know that many companies are aware of these benefits and these challenges, but are not always sure where to begin. So this guide comes in to support employers' understanding and implementation of a wide range of childcare and family solutions. And we aim to enhance knowledge and accelerate action. And you can find the guide at ifc.org/tackling childcare guide. So how was this guide produced? So we set up a global tackling childcare working group a year ago, and we were pleased to have Patagonia, ILO, UN Women, and several other fantastic organizations, leaders in this space join us. And together we co-created this guide through a series of consultations, peer reviews, and revisions. We also had the government of Paraguay come in and provide their perspective. So it's truly a joint initiative, and I'm super thrilled that it draws on the expertise of all of these organizations. So who is this guide for? It's for employers like you who are either mandated to provide childcare, wish to explore options and introduce new benefits, or want to strengthen or improve their existing benefits. So there's even information in the guide for those who are a little bit advanced in their journey but want to improve. And they want to enhance their reputation as a family-friendly employer of choice. And what does the guide cover? So definitely, as I mentioned, the business and development case for employer-supported childcare. It includes guidance to assist in scoping family needs and choosing the right childcare solution, be it on-site, off-site, near-site, community-based. So varying partnership models are also included. So there's something in it for everybody. Information on meeting policy and regulatory requirements. As I mentioned, we've done this research across 189 economies, so we've drawn on that research to give you the most important gist of what you should be looking for when it comes to policy, guidance on establishing a program and ensuring quality. I think quality is the centerpiece of this guide because it's a topic that many companies often struggle with. They think quality means a lot of money needs to be put into the solution, but we show that that's not the case, and we'll show you how. Advice on making it affordable, accessible, and inclusive. That's key for a range of workers and employees who belong to different backgrounds, income levels, have different values. So how can we design a solution that takes into account all of that? Ideas on complementary family-friendly policies. That's critical because just childcare by itself may not result in the desired impact that you want to have for your business and your employees. So what are some of the other policies that you can implement in collaboration? We also have ideas on monitoring and evaluation and some toolkits for you. But before I dive into that, I just wanted to share with you, what do we mean by employer-supported childcare? I touched on that already a little bit with the complementary family-friendly policies, but I just want to hone in on two things. It doesn't mean that the private sector replaces the public sector. What we are trying to show that in countries where the public sector is weak and the fiscal space is restricted, employers can step in to ensure that their own employees and their families are happy, healthy, and productive. And they can work together with the public sector. The private sector and the public sector can work together to accelerate action. Secondly, on-site childcare is not the only solution. There's a whole range of solutions that can be implemented from less resource intensive to more resource intensive. And this can include, of course, on-site childcare, but then subsidies, vouchers, resource and referral services, backup and emergency childcare, breastfeeding support, paid leave, and safe transport, maternity and paternity leave. So there's a lot of solutions out there that employers can take into account. So next, moving on into the step-by-step guidance that's included in the guide, just to give you an overview. So the first step we have in the guide is to, of course, get started. But before you get started, there are some questions, some, I think, ideological or conceptual questions that the employer would benefit from asking. Why are we doing this? What are the needs of our employees? Do we have sufficient leadership buy-in, and do we have the resources to commit to this? And some of the motivations could be that your employees are facing challenges, right, that result in business challenges such as absenteeism and turnover. So they're unable to meet their care needs, and that kind of spills over into the business. And hence, there's a business case for the company to do this, or you might be legally mandated to do this. Your leadership is super on board and they want to push for this and become a family-friendly employer of choice, and you are able to commit time, knowledge, partnerships, funding, and human resources to this. Step 2 would be to, as I mentioned, get clarity on legal requirements. And this is particularly important in countries where employers are legally mandated to provide childcare. The previous slide, please. Previous. Yes, perfect. And these legal requirements may include licensing and registration. There might be some quality and safety standards you might have to meet, or there could be some non-tax and tax benefits that you might have as an employer if you support childcare and family needs, and there might be some liability and insurance issues. And we do give more information on all of this in the guide. And in case of limited national guidance, employers can always follow international guidelines. So basically, there are 3 legs of childcare policy landscape that employers might need to keep in mind. Of course, there are the legal obligations that you have as an employer, the labor legislation, labor law. There might be some government support, as I mentioned, and then there might be some childcare specific policies, for example, quality and safety guidelines. Step 3 would then be to choose the right service. And there are a few steps involved here. And this is perhaps where the bulk of our tools lie in the guide. And we'll spend some time in the second half to talk more about these. So researching demand with employees to determine cost, quality, demand, access, scope, and eligibility. You can conduct a childcare needs assessment using survey tools, interviews, polls, or focus groups, and we have actual guidance and tools how to conduct these assessments in the guide. You can also research supply to better understand what childcare options are available in the market. We also have some budgeting tools to estimate costs of preferred options, develop a budget, identify income resources, so you can make childcare affordable and inclusive. And then based on all this information, you can choose a feasible childcare and complementary family-friendly solutions package to pilot. And we say pilot because it's always good to start small and gather feedback, gather input, and then expand it. It also helps to develop a theory of change or a business model strategy to ensure that your goals, actions, solutions, and outcomes are all aligned. It also helps to set a baseline. So what is your absenteeism and turnover situation right now before you're starting on your childcare journey, and what is the absenteeism and turnover and other indicators, KPIs, what do they look like after you established? So always good to have a before and after picture to measure and communicate the business case. And one thing that we've really discussed with our UN colleagues is to embed the program in broader business goals. So it's not just a standalone solution, but it's embedded in your overall diversity, inclusion, and business growth goals. And the last step, of course, is to take the leap and activate your program. But there are a few things you can do to make this easier. You can designate a department or task force to lead implementation and be accountable. You can identify and vet potential public and private partners, so you don't have to do this alone. There might be local NGOs, there might be some international organizations, there might be some consultants, experts you can work with. You can work with IFC if you're interested, with UN Women, with UNICEF, with ILO. There's so many resources out there for you. You can seek help when needed, so you don't have to do this alone. And offer affordable quality options to all employees. So men, women, parents from all different backgrounds. It's very important to make it inclusive. And gather feedback and communicate often to continuously improve and expand your solution, and monitor and evaluate frequently so you can measure progress, and then continue making the case to your senior management, to your leadership, that this is something that needs to be continuous and invested in. And you can share your success through case studies, through being on conferences and panels like Danone and Patagonia are here with us today. You can also be the voice. I won't spend too much time on quality. We can discuss this in the second half, but just to give you a flavor that this is the kind of guidance and checklists we're giving in the guide, so you can go step by step. Okay, these are the things we need to keep in mind when we're looking at quality. So safe learning environment, qualified workforce, engaging caregivers, and making them feel, giving them a good work environment to work in, ensure child to teacher ratios are conducive to good child development, learning opportunities are play-based, tracking children's development, adhering to proper health and safety standards. Lastly, I want to touch on a company example to give you how to give you a flavor of how this looks in practice. So I have two examples here. I'll just touch on one, which is of Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi in Japan. They came to us, they said, look, we have thousands of branches. We can't possibly set up a childcare facility in every single branch. And we said, you don't have to. Ask your employees what do they need. So they spoke to their employees, and they were able to then come up with a solution that it makes sense to offer subsidies rather than and access to local childcare providers. It makes sense to increase parental leave and give part-time options. So they developed this suite of childcare and family options, and as a result, they were able to lower turnover for women. And then they were also able to increase number of women in leadership. They were able to record greater customer satisfaction and long-term relationships. But most importantly, they were able to retain more than 1,000 new mothers, which resulted in notional financial returns of $45 million US, because what they did was they calculated how much it costs them to lose and replace one employee, and that was about $45,000. So when they multiplied the number of women they've been able to retain with the cost of replacing and hiring an employee, they were able to come up with this fantastic figure of $45 million. So that's it from me. I would now like to hand over back to Laura to lead us on, and also happy to take questions and touch more on some of these tools in the second half. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you very much, Rudaba, for walking us through the insightful and practical guidance from the IFC guide. It was fascinating hearing about the business case and how comprehensive the guide is and practical, providing for really useful and hands-on tools on addressing childcare needs. You emphasized the employers' context and needs and capacity very significantly across company size, sector, and regions, and the guide really has the value of filling an important knowledge and practice gap. Also, you pointed out that employer-supported childcare doesn't mean that the private sector replaces the public sectors, and that there are multiple solutions that are zero low cost that can support working parents everywhere. Importantly, creating a culture of care-friendly workplaces can make an enormous difference, and as also providing an integrated package of family-friendly solutions. And childcare can only work if an effective system of family-friendly policies are available to both women and men. Importantly, also, quality of childcare services is key and is linked to the qualifications and working conditions of childcare personnel. And our audience can learn more on this from the ILO policy guidelines on the promotion of decent work for early childhood education personnel. Thank you very much. And I will now hand it over to Shirley Shushan on the experience of employer-supported childcare of Patagonia. Cheryl has worked with on behalf of young children and families for over 25 years as an expert on early childhood education, as a teacher and director of a childcare center, and also as the manager of Colorado's Early Childhood Leadership Commission. Currently, she's the director of Global Family Services at Patagonia. So we're very excited to hear from Shirley about Patagonia's childcare program.
Hello, thank you, Laura, and everyone with the International Labor Organization. It's a pleasure to be here today with an esteemed panel and a group of participants interested in family-friendly policies and childcare solutions. As Laura said, I'm Cheryl Shushan from Patagonia. We're an outdoor apparel company committed to building quality products and saving our home planet. I lead Global Family Services, which includes on-site childcare and a handful of other family-friendly policies and programs. Patagonia is a family-owned benefit corporation that was founded by Yvonne and Melinda Chenard in Ventura, California. Today, Patagonia has over 2,500 employees with 8 corporate offices and many retail stores worldwide. Next. Patagonia was founded in 1973, and as Patagonia grew, employees started having children, and naturally they started bringing their children to work. Filing cabinets were being used as bassinets, and desks were being transformed into forts. It was working, sort of, until there was one particular mother who went to her car to breastfeed and console a rather colicky child. Melinda was appalled because she knew this didn't represent her vision of family business, so she quickly decided that Patagonia should provide on-site childcare. So when Patagonia was only 10 years old, what started in a backpack became a licensed childcare center. Next. In 1983, Patagonia opened their first on-site childcare center, and 37 years later, Patagonia offers on-site childcare in 3 locations to employees only. The Child Development Centers serve children 8 weeks through kindergarten, plus an after-school program and summer camp for children up to age 11 in Ventura only. We offer childcare in 2 corporate offices and 1 distribution center. We have the capacity to serve over 250 children in 21 classrooms with nearly 200 enrolled today. We've dedicated over 22,000 square feet of indoor space and nearly 50,000 square feet of outdoor space to children. In addition to childcare, we also host parent talk times and family events to strengthen the relationship between home and school and continue to embrace the company culture that's grounded in community. There are a few things that I'd like to highlight today about our model. Patagonia's childcare philosophy is rooted in practices that help us live our mission, which is to save our home planet. This translates into quality practices like spending as much time as possible outside to foster a close and curious relationship with nature, eating healthy and taking risks to learn about our bodies and space, which builds grit and confidence, learning how to be part of a community, like making friends and learning self-help skills and communicating appropriately to get our needs met, and doing daily chores like composting and watering the garden that helps us understand the life cycle and how to care for other things. To learn more about our philosophy, Melinda Chenard and Jennifer Ridgway, her close friend and colleague, published a book called Family Business. There's also a lot more information on patagonia.com/family business. In addition to these foundational elements of our philosophy, we pay particular attention to our organizational structure and other quality indicators that Rudaba mentioned earlier, like low adult-child ratios, highly trained staff, individualized teaching that's play-based, natural and inviting environments, and of course, family engagement. Next. The second thing I'd like to highlight about our model that's very unique is that we have a family services department within Patagonia that employs over 50 teachers and administrative staff. There are a lot of reasons why Patagonia chooses to own and operate the child development centers, and keep in mind it's been an organic process since the beginning in 1983. As Patagonia employees, teachers receive the same benefits as any employee, but unfortunately these benefits are extremely rare in childcare. For example, teachers have access to health care, and the company pays 100% of the employee premium. They also receive paid leave, which includes sick time, vacation time, and parental leave. They also have a 401k investment, including an employer match and an annual discretionary contribution from the company, which was over 10% last year. They're also part of the bonus pool because leadership understands that in order for parents to show up at work and perform, they need to know that their children are well cared for by nurturing teachers in safe and inspiring environments. This strategy alone means that we don't face constant teacher turnover, which plagues the childcare industry and makes quality childcare challenging. Last year, our child development centers had less than a 10% turnover rate compared to the industry standard of 20 to 30% in the United States. The last thing I'd like to highlight is that providing on-site childcare is fully integrated into campus life and deeply rooted in the company's values. It's part of our fabric. It's really who we are. We do not offer childcare so that parents can work more. We provide childcare so families can come to work together and interact at the parent's discretion throughout the day, like over lunch or by continuing to breastfeed. We do it so that parents can lean on each other, have play dates, and build friendships outside of work. And we do it so parents can connect with teachers, some of whom have been with us for over 20 years, about things like how to get a child to sleep or how to get them to use their words. Next. In addition to on-site childcare, Patagonia has a comprehensive approach to supporting working families, which includes programs and policies like flex time and flex place, if it's possible for the role, paid leave after 9 months for full-time and part-time employees, which includes 16 weeks of maternity leave, 12 weeks of paternity and adoptive leave, and 12 weeks of medical leave. Patagonia also has lactation rooms, so breastfeeding mothers have privacy and can store milk. We have a unique program called Travel Support, which was established in 2006 and pays for a personal caregiver or a child development center teacher to travel with the parent on required business trips if the child is breastfeeding up to any age or a dependent child up to age 1. Last year, we provided 88 days of travel support. The last thing I'll mention is that childcare is very expensive and often the second biggest expense in a family's budget. Patagonia does charge market rates for employees to bring their children to our on-site childcare. For those families enrolled in our centers who struggle to pay for childcare, we also offer a subsidy based on household income. For those employees who live in a location where we don't offer on-site childcare, so some of our global corporate offices or one of our many retail stores, Patagonia offers childcare stipends, which are based on the employee's work schedule and the age of the child. Next. As you can see, Patagonia has a strong commitment to working families and understands that allocating resources to pay for these particular policies and programs makes sense for us as a business. For the purpose of this webinar, I want to talk specifically about the return on investment for on-site childcare. Patagonia's commitment to offering the highest quality childcare requires a financial commitment. And for Patagonia, that means paying for the shortfall between operational expenses and the revenue from tuition. Patagonia understands that allocating these resources to help offset the cost of quality childcare is an investment, and we conservatively estimate that we recoup 71% of the company's contribution. 30% comes from tax benefits. In the United States, the federal government recognizes the value of on-site childcare to both working parents and the economy and grants qualified childcare programs an annual tax credit of $150,000. On top of that, we recoup about 20% from income tax reduction. Another 30% comes from cost savings because of employee retention. As we all know, turnover is expensive because of lost productivity while the position is vacant and expenses related to recruitment, relocation, and training. Patagonia calculates a cost savings of between 35 to 125% of a person's salary based on their position because of this low turnover. The last 11% we estimate we recoup from employee engagement. Of course, it's hard to quantify employee engagement because of on-site childcare, but anecdotally, we know that on-site childcare can foster loyalty, work-life balance, and untraditional cross-functional relationships that happen naturally between parents enrolled in the same classrooms and within our centers. If you want to hear more specifically from parents, I encourage you to go to our website, patagonia.com/family business. We've got some great videos of parents speaking about this particular piece. In addition to the return on investment, we also benefit from some notable outcomes. Next. Although it's impossible to attribute the following outcomes solely to family-friendly policies and programs, we do know that on-site childcare is the heartbeat of our culture and our #1 strategy to addressing workplace challenges upstream. At Patagonia, 99% of moms return to work after maternity leave, compared to 65 to 70% nationally. This means women can continue on their career path, which has led to gender and pay parity within the company. At Patagonia, 47% of executives are female, compared to the national average of 27%. And 50% of our board of directors are female, compared to the national average of 20%. We also have a 4% voluntary turnover rate at headquarters compared to the national average of 11.6. I assure you that 37 years ago, we did it because it was the right thing to do. And today, it's astounding how it's helped us avoid some very serious issues facing companies today. Next. I want to leave you with some final thoughts. What I've shared today with you started in 1983 when Melinda had this trailer dropped off in a parking lot one day, and she hired a grandmother to provide childcare. She quickly realized there were rules and regulations to providing childcare, and the Great Pacific Child Development Center was founded. It's been an organic growth process. Take one step at a time. I assure you, there are challenges to opening on-site childcare, but what I shared with you today took over 37 years to build. Start by understanding the needs of your community, your company's values, its vision, and goals. Take a look at your community. Think about the childcare landscape, the licensing rules and regulations, and what organizations provide services to support the access, quality, affordability, and inclusion of childcare in your community. Then figure out your first move. You might consider starting small with only infants, which can have a big impact because infant care is the hardest to find, and it's also critical for parents to return to work and succeed, not to mention the important bonds that are built at this young age between infants and parents. We highly recommend on-site childcare if at all possible, but also understand that it's tough for small businesses. If it's impossible, then consider some of the other policies and programs already mentioned, or consider creating a partnership with other businesses to pool resources and have enough of an employee population. Consider backup care, which will reduce absenteeism and a lot of parent stress. Consider subsidies to make childcare more affordable and help a family have a better chance of attending a quality program. Consider reserving spaces in a community childcare center, since oftentimes there are really long wait lists to get in. And always remember that anything is possible. Thank you. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you very much, Cheryl, for this fascinating, for sharing this fascinating experience and showing how this model and philosophy of putting the well-being of employees at the center can really translate into innovative and pioneering arrangements. That is what you showed us with the experience of Patagonia. Really, you have here a strong business case, all-win solutions that really hope can help inspire action from our listeners. And this nicely links to our next presentation on family-friendly policies and the case of Danone. We have today Sonia Malaspina, Human Resources Director, Specialized Nutrition, South Europe of Danone. Sonia is a long-standing expert on family policies and also a pluri-awarded HR manager at Mellin Danone, where in 2011 she started the Baby Decalogo, a very interesting initiative on mom returning from leave, benefits for dads, and smart working. Let's hear then all about this from Sonia. You have the mic.
Thank you, Laura. Good morning or good afternoon to all the attendees. It is a pleasure for me and an honor always to tell our journey that has started in 2011 with a male general manager and myself that were thinking about the female contribution in the workplace. So we were strongly convinced to have female contribution at all levels. In a country such as Italy that has the highest female unemployment, 50% of women are unemployed in Italy. So we made a bet at the time, and we decided that women should not change their leadership style, but the company, the workplace has to change to allow women to grow and to give the contribution that was and is really critical for business perspective. So my story is really grounded from a business need. So we were convinced about the fact that more and more in the future, the female contribution is key. And after 8 years, I can tell you, I will show you with the KPIs, with the measurement, that we have won this bet. Yes, female contribution is key for the company. So the program started in a division of Danone. Danone employs 100,000 people all around the world. And we were in Italy, in the Mellin, that is the early life nutrition, the baby food company, 250 people. So a small reality. What we have done is really to ask women and ask also men, so parents, what they need, what we should change in our workplace to allow to live a better experience as parents, as working parents. And we have worked with creating focus group, involving unions representative that our union representation is quite high in the company. So they were key also to give us feedback on what we should implement. And the outcome, you can see in the next slide, was the Baby Decalogue. That is 10 simple rules that are rule that implies the company to help, first of all, from an economical standpoint, because unfortunately in Italy, the childcare services are very, very low from a state point of view. The presence of kindergarten is very cover 10% of the total need of the country. So in this situation, we really decided to help economically the family, so to use a legislation that allows give a relief from a tax perspective if you provide services and help to families. So we implemented this tool that is is more and more appreciated by the people. So his value, we started with 300 euro per year, and now we are at 2,000 euro per year per employee, and actually we are covering all the employees. We were also offering complementary support, economical support during the compulsory maternity leave. In Italy, you are paid 100% of your salary. When you are on the optional maternity leave, your salary is reduced to 30% of the total salary. And this is a problem, especially for single mom. So the company decided to help and to double the indemnity. We have established also 10 days of paternity leave for the dads, for the fathers. And this is very important culturally, because involve also the men in the childcare arena. And this is an important cultural change here in Italy. From an organizational standpoint, we introduced flexibility to allow parents to introduce children in the kindergarten, in the maternity school, in the elementary school, so to live with a in a comfortable way all the situations that are otherwise really stressful for a working mom or a working dad. And this has given us the great benefit to see that the people work by objectives. They don't work anymore by the numbers of hours, and especially in Italy, we have to kill the presentialism, the fact of staying in the company until very late in the evening to make a career. And working by objective, actually introducing this mentality in the company, has boosted meritocracy and has boosted the female career, because we work all by objectives and not by number of hours present in the company. Because of course, this is an important organizational measure, because otherwise women cannot access, cannot have a career in the companies. Another important a measure that is no cost to implement is listening mom. Listening mom and also dads when they are back from maternity, or dads when they have lived the experience of the paternity, and understand if the measure that the company has implemented are still the adequate one, or we need to fine-tune, to change, to evolve. These simple rules, of course, in our DNA, there is the nutrition, the alimentation, so we offer nutrition to accompany mother during, after the pregnancy. We offer psychological support if it is requested. All these measures applied in a very severe way, in a very consistent way, all along these 8 years, has allowed us to see a real increase in the female contribution in the workplace. So we decided in 2018, and we will see in the next slide, to measure the competency of the moms. So if you go next slide, we have decided to measure the competency of moms and dads before the maternity or the paternity and after. It is a digital tool that you can do online, and it measures your different soft skills before the maternity and after. And this has been very important to measure what I have always observed. I always seeing moms coming back from maternity in the workplace, struggling at the beginning, but then unlocking a great potential, great capability in terms of creativity, in terms of organizational skills. And with this tool, I was able to measure with an external provider what was just an empirical observation. So if we go in the next slide, we will see in the next slide the measurements. So the competencies that are key for every day in the workplace. So the ability to manage priorities and timing, the intellectual agility, the empathy, the ability to delegate, ability to take decision, ability to take and manage complexity are greatly emphasized. You see this number, double-digit number, 20, 35%. So what we have seen is that maternity and paternity are an exceptional gym to develop future leader, to develop future manager. And this is really astonishing for us because it has entered in our learning choice, selection of choice, because it is something that has proved very effectively. And if I have to collect this journey of 8 years, the KPIs I'm really proud, we can see in the next slide, on a population that is the Italian Danone population made of 500 people, we are proud to have 100% of moms coming back after the pregnancy in the workplace, in the job. We have an incredible natality rate that is 7.5 in the company, while you have around -3% of Italian country birth rate. We have increased the presence of manager, female manager, mom manager, 45%. Another astonishing data is the fact that if you take 100% of promotion of 1 year, 40% of this promotion has gone to moms that are back after the parental leave. So for me, this really tells us that the maternity and the paternity are not a penalty, are not something that penalize the worker in the workplace, but are a booster for the company productivity. Of course, also our dads are encouraged to take the 10 days of paternity leave, and they actually take it versus the 5 days provided by the law. We have very nice data about breastfeeding because all these measures allows our mom to breastfeed. So 85% of mom says that they are breastfeeding, and their absenteeism is almost close to zero. In this situation, the 3 companies are ranked Great Place to Work in Italy since some years. So we have captured the engagement of the people, reduced the cost of people leaving, replacing people, so the costs that are consequent to turnover, and above all, we have retained the key people, the crucial people that the competitors are not able to steal to the company. So for us, this is really a competitive advantage. I would like to say that we put parents, the parents' experience in the P&L of the company, because it actually is really a booster for company results. I cannot imagine if the company was not implementing this. I would not think what the company would have been today. So next, we can see also that we really want to be continuously checked, and we are continuously trying to update our practices. We have received an external audit through this gender equality European international standard. That is the first European standard for equality in the workplace. Is under the patronage of the European Commission, and gives me the flavor that we are advanced in the area of gender equality and in general in the area of inclusive diversity, because we want to create a workplace in which all the people can express themselves, and in this way they can give and contribute more. So this is the purpose, and is really a business purpose. So it's something that has an social impact, an individual impact, but also a business impact. So we go next, and you can see that the journey from internal journey has provided ambassador, because really our people are really proud, first of all, to be part of a company that really cares about them as person, as people, and we are more and more become a national case. So we are a point of reference for other companies, for the institution. So the Ministry of Family visited the company in 2018, meeting our parents, because they are searching, institutions are searching a way, especially in Italy, to revert the decline of the birth, that of course will be a big problem for the future generation. We are a point of reference for KOL, for bloggers, so, and we are also thinking to stretch and extend the journey also to our products, but this is just a consequence, because we are really convinced that we should contaminate other companies and the external environment, because we believe that is not just good for our companies, it's good for the society, it's good for our country. Next. Next, okay, so just to show you the great recognition and the media, let me say that one thing I'm really proud is that the practice has been an inspiration for the development of the Danone Global Parental Policy that is going to be deployed all around the world to the 100,000 Danoners. And we have tried to measure also here in Italy the rumor that we have created. So in the next slide, you can see just some figure that are marketing figure actually, that show you that this topic is really relevant, because the media are constantly speaking about this criticality here in Italy. So the number of articles printed, the totally positive sentiment around this topic, because really is a topic for all the parties. There is no one against this battle. So 1.3 million euro. This is a marketing slide. They try to capture the magnitude. For me, I think that we have a responsibility as Danone also to impact externally our ecosystem. I think that the KPIs data developed in 8 years are meaningful. So I'm really always really honored to explain our journey. And of course, I think that the return of investment is real, is there. And I frankly believe that we can create a different workplace for the future. I have finished.
Thank you very much, Sonia, for walking us through this parental journey, demonstrating so powerfully how parenthood, far from being a penalty, is really a value for the company. And you have listed a number of very important ingredients for success. Leadership from the top, as called for the WEP's Principle 1, social dialogue with workers' representatives, the listening to consult your workers, as also called for the ILO Convention recommendations on workers with family responsibilities. Also, having a dynamic, responsive HR team, having an effective monitoring system, the right metrics to measure your business case, powerful communication for the employer of choice, and also the use of right technologies, all together can really build a strong business case for family-friendly policies and practice and go beyond national legislation, even in context of demographic and employment challenges, as the one you mentioned. So thank you very much to all our three speakers. And it's now time to hear from our audience. We will open now to questions. And since we've been running a little bit late, we will also invite you to take the floor by raising your hands if you want to share your experiences directly on the challenges and hear more from the guidance that the IFC guide provides. And maybe I would like to start by, there is a question that we have on specifically for Sonia on the package of products that are offered to mom and dads. Also, someone wants to listen more about really how you get started when you have to build your case. So something more about starting from scratch. And also there is a question about Shirley, for Shirley, about the complementary policies. The guide mentioned, the IFC guide that documents your case study also refers to a program to support co-workers' needs. That is one of the greatest challenges that employer voice when parents go on parental leave. So we will give you the floor again if you could tell us more about this point. Thank you. We can start by Sonia, maybe?
Yes. So about the nutrition support, of course, on top of the nutritional training, we provide our products, but after 6 months, because we consider that the number one is breastfeeding. So we really create the condition for mom to breastfeed, because this is the most important thing and most important food. But for the baby, if this is missing, of course, we can complement after 6 months with complementary products up to the age of 3 years. But this is part of our business, of course. So this is for the nutritional part. In terms of the second question about how we have started, the practice started silently, because of course we were strongly convinced, but we didn't know about the magnitude of this policy at the beginning. So we started small. We started with focus group with mom. We started adjusting things all along the way. So with the constant dialogue with the people, okay, that is for us also a business, because if we know moms and dads, we can approach our consumer, because they are the ones that are driving the consumption, no? the choice of the product. So it's really step by step. This program takes time. You cannot implement and see immediately the results. And so I think that you must be consistent. When you launch a policy, you have to stick to it. It is the company credibility and they walk the talk, no? So it's, I think that all the business case to convince the management are very good, because then you have to prove that it's not a cost, but is an investment, okay? So everything that you can find and share. But I would give this advice: when you have engagement in the workforce and you have a marvelous career, you can, I mean, this is a business topic. This is no more a social, this is critical to business. So more and more, the people that were also skeptical at the beginning were really, are really enthusiastic after they've seen the effect, the results of this childcare policy.
Thank you very much, Sonia, for complementing with these important inputs and the experience of Danone. Cheryl, you have the mic on the question on complementary policy and co-worker needs. Would like to unmute your mic?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. So to Sonia's point, I think that paid leave, employees can often be hesitant to take paid leave because they feel like they're going to be penalized in some way, or they couldn't possibly be gone for the 16 weeks of maternity or 12 weeks of paternity that we offer. At Patagonia, we really lean on HR to help facilitate this conversation. The employee really drives the process, which is consistent with other things within the organization, like performance. So the employee really drives the conversation with their manager with the support of HR. We have some templates that help them think through how they're going to take paternity or maternity leave. For example, the dates they're going to be gone, maybe they're going to come back and then be in their position for a little while and take a few weeks in the summer. So they really help them think through how they're going to take their leave and when they're going to come back. They also help them outline projects that they are working on currently, so what can be set aside, what needs to be carried forward by another employee, strategies to pick these projects back up when they return. And then help identify who's going to step in to provide support on these projects that need to be carried forward while they're out on leave. In addition to supporting the employee, HR also works with the manager to help them understand that taking paid leave and our approach to supporting working families is really embedded in our culture. It is very important that we all support working families and also honor this special time in their lives to start a family, or continue to build a family. And so this can be hard for managers, especially if they don't have children or if they haven't been a part of our community for very long. So I think it's this strategy that has multiple prongs that kind of wraps all these services and conversations around the employees and the managers to help people communicate and coordinate and make sure that the business is successful and that the projects continue while we're also supporting the employee.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. these inputs, and I would like to pass it to Rudaba while we continue gathering your inputs to go maybe more in depth on the first step of setting up a childcare solution. Your guide provides in the appendix an employer-supported childcare toolkit, and it points to the facts of how to choose and understand employment childcare needs is a very important starting point. So can you tell us more about what the guide offers for this important initial step and the aspect to consider? You also have a checklist on that. We're going to display these tools for our audience.
Yes, that would be great, because I think the tools are in the other slide deck. So I don't know if you want to pull those up, or I can just talk through them. Yes, perfect. So let's go to slide number 4, if that's possible. Yes, exactly. So IFC has developed a decision-making model for companies, which rests on 3 main points or aspects. Number 1 is to assess employee demand. And that should be the first step of any childcare solution or journey, to really understand what do the employees want in terms of childcare availability, affordability, access, and quality. Do they want regular care, intermittent, at non-standard hours? What are the ages of the children? How many working parents, men and women? So just understanding a little bit about the scope and the needs and the preferences of the employees is key, and understanding also what their current arrangements are and what their problems are when their problems